Ah!
What's up, everyone? It's your boy Blue bringing you another Blues Budget Battle Brews. This week, that is the main video for the week. It is actually I don't know, it's one of those things where I had to do this because a customer requested a deck. They requested one of my Blues Budget Battle Brews, but I didn't have this one made. It's not on the docket for my schedule for decks, so I had to make it and make the video in between. So, what you're going to see here is a mono blue spirits deck. Again, it was a request from a customer. They asked for a spirit tribal battle brew deck, so we're going to get into it. This is for him, so it's the strategy video and how the deck works and what to do, and we're going to go over it and then a couple of upgrades at the end. So, like I said, it's mono blue, it's a spirit tribal deck, and it's on the budget. So, let's get into it, and then we'll go from there. So, let's start off with the creature section here. We're going to start off with the one drop is Eidolon of Philosophy. It's a 1/2 for 1. So right off the bat, the stats are great. It has an ability that for 6 and a blue, which is a lot, but if the game goes long, it's going to come into play. 1/2 after turn 7 isn't really going to do much, but with its ability to draw 3 cards, that's where it's going to come into play. So I got a play set of those in there. The 2 drop is a Fog Walker. It has evasion with Skulk, and it says that this creature can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. So if a creature has greater power than this creature, so in the instance of it starting out, it's got a 1 power, so anything with 2 or greater power can't block it. So play set of those. The first rare is a Shacklegeist. It is a 2-cast 2/2 flyer. Can only block creatures with flying. There's more evasion for the flying. And then you can tap 2 untapped spirits you control to tap target creature you control. There's a mini theme to the deck. There are 3 sub-themes to this deck, and that's the first one, other than the fact that it's spirits. The next one is a rare as well. It's Rattle Chains. It's also a 2-cast. It's a 2/1 flyer. Has flash, which means it can be cast as though it was an instant. And when it enters the battlefield, target spirit you control gains hexproof, which means it can't be targeted by your opponents until end of turn. And then you may cast spirits as though they had flash, so that makes all your guys here able to be cast on your opponent's turn at the end of their turn if you want. Next up is the 3 drop, Niblis of Dusk, more evasion because it's flying. It's a 3-cast 2/1. It has Prowl, so whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn, so that means instants, sorceries, enchantments, basically anything that's not a creature. That includes planeswalkers as well, artifacts that are not creatures too. So play set of those. I got a duo of Uninvited Geist. It's another 3 drop. It's a 2/2. Again, more evasion with Skulk. And then when it deals combat damage to a player, you transform it. And it transforms into a 3/3 that can't be blocked. So there's no better evasion than not being able to be blocked. The 4 drop is Soul Sworn Spirit. It itself is unblockable, so again, more evasion. You can see where the first sub-theme comes into play as things here are evasive. When it enters the battlefield, also you detain target creature and opponent controls. And what detain means is that until end of your next turn, that creature can't attack, block, or activate abilities that require it to be activated. So it locks down or prisons, puts your opponent's creature that you choose into a prison. 4 of them. And the final creature, I believe, no, it's not. The third rare is Dungeon Geists. It's a 4-cast 3/3, and when it enters the battlefield, tap target creature and opponent controls, and that creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Dungeon Geists. More prison. So a lot of prison effects, a lot of evasion, and a lot of spirits. And I believe this is, yes, the last creature is Niblis of Frost. It's a 4-cast 3/3. Again, flying for evasion, and Paralysis again. And Paralysis again says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you tap target creature and opponent controls, and that creature doesn't untap during your next during that controller's next untap step. So you see the theory here. Evasive creatures, all from the same tribe, and there's a reason for that. And then tapping down creatures or putting them in prisons is kind of the way it's put, so that you can not get attacked by your opponent, so you're going to be ahead in damage, and then you can fly over or skulk through or just be unblockable creature through getting damage in. So then the rest of this deck is going to turn out to be stuff to help with the prowess to make your guys bigger. So obviously every deck I make that's blue has opt in it, 4 of them, because it's probably one of the best draws spells in the game. When they reprinted it and started putting it into standard, I was kind of happy because I had some, but not enough to put in the decks. Now it's in every set for the most part going forward. So you scry 1, which means you look at the top of your library. You can choose to put it on the bottom or leave it there, and then you draw a card. So you can either draw that card or put it on the bottom and draw a different card. So play a set of those. Anticipate, 2 to cast. It says to look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So it's essentially like a brainstorm where you get to draw 3, look at 3 cards, keep 1, put the other 2 on the bottom. Brainstorm reads a little differently. You get to draw them, but it's close. Frantic Inventory, 2 to cast as well, another instant. So everything here is instant. So I'm trying to make everything be at the speed of instant so you can always respond to something. You draw a card, and then you draw a card equal to the number of cards named Frantic Inventory in your graveyard. So it works like this. The first one you draw 1, the second one you draw 2 as long as nobody has removed your graveyard, then 3, and then 4. So the point of this is to get as many cards into your hand. So one of the things in Magic is that if you fuel your hand with a lot of cards, you're going to go ahead and have an advantage over your opponent who may, as they call, fizzle out and then they have nothing in their hand. Some more prison effects. I've got some enchantment prison effects to help make sure that you can lock down your opponents as well. So Bubble Snare. I started using this on Arena recently. It's actually rather good. So for 1 blue, you can enchant a creature, not yours obviously, and then that creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step ever. But you can kick it and then tap the creature, so then it'll be tapped when, if you have a guy who, or if your opponent has a guy who has, say, Vigilance and doesn't tap to attack, this can help tap it down, and then it just can't do anything from there. One of the things I liked about the interaction here with this was simply there are more expensive enchantments in the game that do what you want it to do without the kicker. So for 3, I believe Claustrophobia taps the creature and then it doesn't untap. But because everything in here, for the most part, does something to tap, like detain a creature, or these creatures tap them for you, so you don't have to worry about paying the extra cost. So for 1, you can have something on your opponent's side tap down forever. And then the last card that's not a land is Singing Bellstrike. So it doesn't seem very good at first, but when you think about the flow of a game, so it's a 2 to cast enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you tap the enchanted creature. So kind of like I was talking about before, where there are cheaper ones that do it. The caveat to this one is, so it doesn't that creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. However, for 6, the controller can pay. It doesn't have to be even during the untap step, but the enchanted creature now also gains for 6 untap the creature. So there are ways that you can do it on your opponent's turn, so you don't have to waste the mana on your turn. But for the most part, you're going to have everything tapped down, and then even if they can do it, you can tap it down another way with some of the creatures in here and what have you. So, and then the rest of the deck is actually just 20 islands because there's no reason to change anything out. I mean, there are a couple things that you can do, but there's not a whole lot. So that is my version for the budget build that requested by a customer, actually by a customer for a friend, for spirits. And I went mono blue for a reason. It makes the cost go down because a lot of the spirits, because they are a deck in Pioneer, it makes them a little bit more expensive monetarily. And speaking of that, this deck is actually Pioneer legal. I don't normally make a deck that's legal in a specific format. It wasn't on purpose. It's just that a lot of the spirits that are out there that are good enough to use for a budget deck are in Pioneer as well. So this is a freeform deck, but it can, if you wanted to, go to a Pioneer tournament and you can play with it, but I wouldn't suggest it because it's not powerful enough. However, in the upgrade section, I'm going to go over some of the ways that you can make it powerful enough to do it. Now, this is a mono blue version. Just keep that in mind. The more popular version in Pioneer is actually blue, white, or Azorius, or Bant. Well, I didn't want to do that because monetarily speaking, it doesn't fit into the budget. However, you can do some upgrades. So let me go over a couple of those upgrades with you. So let me see here. First upgrade that I would do is I would start with the creatures section here. A couple of things that you can swap out. So the one drop, which is the Eidolon, right here. I would switch out for Spectral Sailor. Spectral Sailor is the one that casts 1/1 flyer, and then you can pump mana into it. I think it's 1 blue and 3 of any to draw a card. So off the bat, while this gets you 3, that one gets you more than that if you have the mana and the game's going long enough. Second thing I would swap out would be the Fog Walker, even though it's really good. I would swap that out for a Supreme Phantom because that is the tribal anthem card for spirits. It gives all your spirits +1/+1. I also believe, I can't remember, it does a second thing, but either way, I'll have it up here for you to see. So Supreme Phantom would be the next thing I would swap in. I would take out the 3-drop Niblis Dusk, and I would put in another Anthem style spirit, Patrician Geist. That way your creatures get bigger and bigger and bigger. This is kind of akin to the Fish deck for Modern, which is the Merfolk deck that has nothing but Anthem style creatures that buff all yours. Then I would eliminate the 4 converted mana value, the 4 mana value creature spot. I would swap out the Soul Sworn Spirit, and I would put in Spectral Adversaries. They're the new 2-drop from, what is it? It's is it Innistrad? I believe it's the Innistrad. It's the new one. Again, I'll have it up here for you guys to see. It helps to phase out your opponent's creatures. It helps save yours if you need to when it comes into play. It's just really, I believe it's 2 to cast 2/1 flyer, but you can kick it, not really kick it, but you can pay X. I think it's 1 blue and 1 of any X amount of times, and then it gets bigger, comes into play with +1/+1 counter, so it can be a bigger creature, all that good stuff. So it's a very useful creature, definitely outside the budget. All right, so those are the creatures that I would change, and I'm gonna circle back to this one a little later because I have another change I would suggest making if you wanted to say maybe take this to a Pioneer tournament. So we're gonna move on to the spells section, the draw spells. So here's the thing. The only thing I would swap out here, because Opt is obviously optimal, especially in Pioneer, is I would switch out maybe the Frantic Inventories for Deliberates. It's 1 blue, 1 of any. You can scry 2, then draw a card. Great card. Absolutely great. I use it on Arena all the time. It actually is fabulous. That's about all I would change in that. But then here's the other problem. The control spells. So when I say the control spells, I mean the prison enchants that I have in here. I would probably, here's where it gets a little weird. So as far as Pioneer goes, I would swap them out for Counter Magic if we weren't in Pioneer. My personal opinion is that the Pioneer Counter Magic is a little weak. Maybe there are a couple that you can use depending on your meta. It really does come down to what your opponents are playing. I would go ahead and, if you go straight freeform and you're just playing with friends, you have counter spells itself, mana leaks, stuff like that. They're much better counter spells than the ones that are available in the Pioneer format. So if you're just playing for fun, I would swap out some of the prison chants for maybe that, because countering a spell is better than having one sit on the board and possibly get, the prison enchant disenchanted. So, there's that. That's really up to you. It depends on your meta, what you're playing, if you're going freeform, if you're staying in Pioneer, if you're just playing friends. It really comes down to what you want to do. All right? So I want to let you know that I did keep it Pioneer legal for now, but if you want to, you can just, again, play your friends and then switch out some of the stuff. I also wanted to mention that I kept the deck for budgetary reasons mono blue. The purpose of keeping the... Alright, let me explain it like this. Azorius or blue-white spirits are stronger than just mono blue, so I kept it like that for the budget. It's not really for any other reason other than that, because here's what you can do. I said I'd circle back to the creatures. So the Azorius or blue-white creatures that you can do that are spirits are there are a couple that you can add that would make this deck really jump out, and it would really make it comparable to the modern fish deck as far as all the creatures buff each other kind of thing. So let's see, what are they called? Drog Skull Captain gives all your spirits hexproof and +1/+1. I mean, if your opponent can't interact with your creatures, it's pretty much game over. And then Spell Queller, it's kind of a counterspell on a stick when it comes to spirits. It's actually quite helpful. I mean, it's not really a counterspell so much as it's a delay on somebody's spell when they cast it, but still very viable, makes the deck way stronger. And then when you do change it over to Azorius and you do some of the upgrades, a lot of the creatures now become flying. All of them pretty much become flying at that point. So there's an additional Anthem style spirit buffer, but it's not really a buffer of spirit so much as it's a buffer of flying creatures. The Empyrean Eagle is a spirit as well, and it buffs all flying creatures. So it's another way that you can buff your creatures and make them bigger and bigger as you go. So that's just, some of the reasons why if I had the budget, I'd change it over to a blue-white instead of just mono-blue. As far as the lands go, not really many changes here, especially if you're going to keep it Pioneer. I'd maybe add like 4 Mystic Sanctuaries and take out 4 islands. They're basically islands anyway, and they help you get some of the spells, the instants back. So it's a nice, helpful way to do it. But they're actually, as much as you'd hate to say it, for a common, they're actually rather expensive, so it didn't really fit into the budget. And the last thing I would add to change out, to keep it Pioneer or even just in general, I would take out 4 more islands and add in 4 Mutavaults because every tribal deck can use Mutavaults. They become a 2/2 creature that's every creature type, so it gets buffed by everything you have in your deck. So that's the last change I would make. And of course, that I believe they've dropped in price recently, but each individual one is more than the deck costs to buy that I already made. So that's just a few of the changes. So that's all I got for the upgrade section. It's not really all that in depth, but it's in depth enough that you can get an idea as to how the deck can work. So if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or anything like that, please feel free to go ahead and send me an email, bluebearsgames@gmail.com. Go to the Facebook page. If you have any questions, you can directly contact me. It's bluebearsgames on Facebook. I'm sure you can find it anywhere. Put a comment in the section below if you really want to. And just, if you need anything, any help, I already know that this deck is sold. I'll make another version of it and rotate that into my Blues Budget Battle Brews, but it's going to be a while. I'm a little behind on things. I have like 4 videos to make to plan out my week. I have like 16 decks I got to remake because I've sold a couple of them. So I'm a little behind, but if you have any questions, I'm always around. So get in contact with me. We'll have a powwow, if you will. So do me the favor, though. Please like the video. The more likes I get, the better my analytics go. The more I get viewed on the front page, I'm getting there. People are liking that daily pack opening, and it's helping me get more visibility on the front page. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. There's no reason not to. I do a lot of content, and I shoot straight with you. So there's no bullshit going on here. If I do make a mistake, I own it. I own it really well. And then, share it out to somebody who may possibly want to view this video. The more people who share it out, the more my analytics go up, the more, visible I am. Maybe I can get monetized on here, and then maybe I can make better, more quality videos, because right now I'm just using a cell phone from 6 years ago as my camera. So anyway, that's my time for the week. I hope you enjoyed. If you didn't, please like the video. I mean, it helps me a lot. But if you didn't, please send me a message privately and tell me what it is you didn't like. So, other than that, enjoy your week, and I will see you all next week.